I'm Ashley, and I'm 26 years old. And let me tell you something. The moment my brother's fiancé whispered that I shouldn't have come to their engagement party because poor people ruined the photos, she had no idea she just insulted the owner of the very company where she and her entire family worked. She also didn't know that her contract would be terminated before their wedding even happened. I need to know, where in the world are you watching from, and has anyone ever made you feel small in a room you actually built? Drop your story in the comments. My pulse didn't even spike. I just looked at Alyssa's perfect, professionally contoured face, then down at my own simple linen trousers and flats. She smirked, turning her back on me to signal security guards who I had personally hired 3 years ago. She thought she was dismissing a poor relation. She didn't realize she was dismissing the board of directors. I offered no argument. I didn't beg for entry. I simply pivoted and walked away. Not toward the exit, but toward the service corridor hidden behind the kitchen. The bass from the party vibrated through the floorboards, shaking the crystal glasses on the trays waiters were carrying out to guests who were currently drinking my champagne on my dime. As I walked down the silent, carpeted hallway of the administrative wing, the noise of the party faded into a dull thrum. It was funny, really. They thought I was invisible because I wanted to be. They didn't understand the difference between being ignored and being unseen. I was the glass child. That's what psychologists call it. The sibling who is looked through, never at. Growing up, my twin brother Tyler was the son my parents orbited. He was loud, demanding, and brilliant in that flashy way that gets attention. I was just there. I learned early on that if I wanted anything, I had to get it myself, quietly, without disturbing the orbit. I built this entire empire in the dark because no one was watching me anyway. Silence wasn't a weakness, it was my laboratory. I reached the end of the hall and swiped my keycard. The lock beeped green, a cheerful little sound that felt like a gavel coming down. I stepped into my office. It was cool, quiet, and smelled of cedar and expensive coffee. On the wall hung a plaque, Summit Eco Resorts, valuation, $12 million. I sat down at the desk, the leather chair creaking softly. My computer screen glowed to life. I didn't open my email. I opened the payroll system. I typed in Alyssa. There she was. Marketing coordinator. Hired 6 months ago. I pulled up her file. Navigating the database felt less like administration and more like tracing the roots of a parasitic weed. Susan, my mother, HR manager. Tyler, my brother, maintenance supervisor. They were all there. My family. My employees. I didn't fire her yet. That would be emotional. That would be reactive. And I don't do reactive. I flagged her account for an immediate, forensic audit. Then I leaned back and watched the cursor blink. It looked like a heartbeat. A very slow, very cold heartbeat. I closed my eyes and let the memory wash over me. 5 years ago. The lawyer's office smelled like dust and old paper. My grandfather's will. My parents sat on one side of the table, holding hands with Tyler. They were vibrating with anticipation. To my grandson, Tyler, the lawyer had read, I leave the education trust fund, totaling $80,000. My parents had gasped. Tyler had high-fived my dad. They talked about engineering school, about cars, about the future. And to my granddaughter, Ashley, the lawyer continued, peering over his glasses. I leave the plot of land on Blackwood Ridge. My mother had actually laughed. It was a nervous sound, but it cut. Blackwood Ridge was a joke. It was 5 acres of swampy, mosquito-infested shoreline with a rotted-out summer camp cabin that had been condemned by the county twice. The assessment value was $15,000. Less than the cost of a used Honda. You can probably sell it for scrap, my dad had said later, clapping me on the shoulder. Don't worry, Ash. You're smart. You'll figure something out. Figure it out. That was the family motto for me. Tyler got the funding, I got the mandate to figure it out. So I did. I didn't sell it. I moved into a construction trailer on the property. I spent that first winter shivering in a sleeping bag, watching YouTube videos on how to fix dry rot and install plumbing. I ate ramen noodles made with water boiled on a camping stove. I learned that when you have nothing, you have to be everything. I became a carpenter, an electrician, a landscape architect. I turned that rotted cabin into the first glamping suite. I rented it out to tech executives from the city who wanted to feel rugged without being uncomfortable. It booked out for 6 months in the first week. I used that money to build 2 more. Then a lodge. Then I bought the neighboring land. I learned the concept of the iceberg illusion. People only see the tip, the success, the money, the finished product. They don't see the massive, jagged mountain of ice beneath the surface, the frozen nights, the bleeding knuckles, the loneliness. I realized then that if I told my family, they wouldn't see the work. They would only see the money. They would think they were entitled to it because we were family. So I kept it quiet. Loud money buys things, quiet money buys freedom. I created a shell corporation. I hired a management firm. When my parents needed jobs, I told the firm to hire them. They thought they were working for a nameless, faceless corporation. They never knew the signature on their paychecks was mine. The sound of my phone buzzing against the mahogany desk snapped me back to the present. It sounded like an angry insect trapped in a jar. I picked it up. A text from Tyler. "Where did you go? Alyssa says you stormed off. You're ruining the vibe, Ash. Seriously." Then another. "Mom is crying. She says you looked like a homeless person. Why can't you just dress nice for once? You're embarrassing us." And another from Alyssa. "I don't know why you even came if you were just going to be weird. Stay away from the wedding next month. We don't need this negative energy." Then a voice note from my mother. I pressed play. Her voice was shrill, tight with that specific kind of anxiety she only got when appearances were threatened. "Ashley, I don't know what is wrong with you. You have always been difficult. You have always been jealous of Tyler and Alyssa. Just because you haven't made anything of yourself doesn't mean you have to tear them down. You need to apologize. Immediately." I didn't reply. I didn't block them. I let the notifications stack up on the lock screen like a cairn of stones, each one a piece of evidence. I needed them to dig the hole deeper. I needed them to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that their cruelty wasn't a mistake. It was a character trait. I looked at the security monitors on my wall. I could see the party in the glass pavilion. I saw Alyssa laughing, holding a glass of champagne. I saw my mother holding court, looking proud. I saw Tyler high-fiving his friends. They looked so happy. So secure. They thought they were standing on solid ground. They had no idea they were standing on a trapdoor, and I was holding the lever to a sharp knock on the door. "Come in," I said. Marcus, my general manager, walked in. He looked pale. He was holding a file folder like it was a loaded weapon. "Ms. Parker," he said. He never called me Ashley in the office. "You asked for the audit on the engagement party booking." I did. He slid the folder across the desk. It's not good." I opened it. I expected to see a friends and family discount. Maybe a payment plan. What I saw made the air leave the room. The invoice for the party totaled $62,000. Venue rental, premium catering, open bar, live band, custom floral arrangements. And under the payment method section, it didn't list Tyler's credit card. It didn't list Alyssa's father. It listed Summit Ecoresorts corporate card, marketing department. Under purpose of expense, Alyssa had written Strategic Influencer Gala, brand awareness campaign. I stared at the words. Strategic Influencer Gala. She embezzled it, I said. My voice was flat. She charged her own engagement party to the company. She listed it as a networking event, Marcus said, his voice shaking slightly. She invited 5 influencers, her friends with a few thousand followers, to justify the cost. But the rest of the guest list is just her family. Your family. I felt a cold, hard knot form in my stomach. This wasn't just mean girl bullying. This wasn't just a sister-in-law being snobby. This was a felony. I thought about the curator's fallacy. We live in a world where people are obsessed with curating a perfect life online. Alyssa needed this party to look perfect. She needed the photos to be flawless. She needed the world to think she was rich, successful, and elite. But the gap between her online perfection and her chaotic reality was so wide she had to steal to bridge it. She wasn't just afraid of poor people ruining her photos. She was afraid of being exposed as a fraud. She was projecting her own insecurity onto me. Call legal, I said, closing the folder. And call the police. But tell them to wait. Wait? Marcus asked. Yes, I said. I want them here Monday morning. At 9 a.m. sharp. Monday morning. The sky was a bruised purple over the lake. I stood by the window of the conference room, watching the cars pull into the employee lot. I had issued the summons on Sunday night. An automated email from the board of directors sent to Alyssa, Tyler, and Susan. Mandatory meeting regarding marketing event discrepancies. 9 a.m. My phone had buzzed all night. Tyler texting me, Ash, can I borrow $500? I think I'm getting fired. Some corporate bullshit about the party. My mom texting, I don't know what's happening at work. They want to see me. I'm scared. Why are you ignoring us? They walked into the conference room at 8:58. Alyssa looked nauseous. She was wearing a beige suit that cost more than my first car. Tyler looked hungover. My mother looked terrified, clutching her purse to her chest. They sat down at the long mahogany table. They didn't look at each other. They looked at the empty chair at the head of the table. I can explain, Alyssa whispered to Marcus, who was standing by the door. It was a marketing event. We got great engagement. The photos were beautiful. The board is here, Marcus said. He opened the door. I walked in. I wasn't wearing linen trousers. I was wearing a tailored black suit. My hair was slicked back. I didn't look like the sister. I looked like the owner. The silence in the room was absolute. It was a physical thing, heavy and suffocating. Alyssa let out a nervous, high-pitched laugh. Ashley? What are you doing here? Did you get a job in cleaning or something? Can you get us some coffee? We're waiting for the owners. I bypassed the pleasantries and took the chair at the head of the table, the heavy oak scraping against the floor, a sound that silenced the room instantly. I don't work here, Alyssa, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it echoed off the glass walls. I am here. I slid the audit file across the polished wood. It stopped right in front of her. This company, I said, pointing to the logo on the wall, is mine. The land. The lodge. The payroll. It's all mine. My mother made a sound like she had been punched in the gut. Tyler's mouth fell open. You own Summit, he stammered. Since the beginning, I said. Since I lived in a trailer and fixed the plumbing with my own hands while you were partying at college. I looked at Alyssa. She was trembling. You told me poor people ruin the photos, I said. But you know what really ruins a photo, Alyssa? A mugshot. Ashley, please, she squeaked. It was a misunderstanding. We're family. No, I said. We were family when you insulted me. Now. You're just an employee who embezzled $62,000 from my company. I nodded to Marcus. He opened the door again. 2 police officers stepped in, the screaming was the worst part. Not from Alyssa, she went silent as soon as the cuffs clicked. It was my mother. She screamed that I was ungrateful, that I was cruel, that I couldn't do this to my own brother's fiancé. I just watched. I felt like I was watching a movie I had seen 100 times. I knew the ending. Security escorted my mother and Tyler out. They were terminated for cause, gross negligence and conflict of interest. They wouldn't be getting severance. When the room was finally empty, silence rushed back in. It wasn't lonely. It was heavy, rich, and peaceful. I walked out to the balcony of the lodge. The air was crisp. Below me, I could see the police cruiser pulling away, lights flashing silently against the trees. I saw my parents' car following it, erratic and desperate. I thought about the piece of subtraction. We are taught that addition is always better, more friends, more family, more money. But sometimes, the greatest act of self-care is subtraction. Removing the rot so the healthy tissue can breathe. Removing the noise so you can hear yourself think. I took my phone out of my pocket. I opened the family group chat. I didn't type a goodbye. I didn't type an explanation. I just hit delete conversation and block. The sun was beginning to set over the lake. It turned the water into a sheet of hammered gold. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the scent of pine and ownership. I had built this view. I had paid for this peace. And now, finally, I could enjoy it. If you've ever had to build your own table because they wouldn't give you a seat at theirs, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to know that their success is the best revenge.